I've stepped into countless haunted locations, each with its own chilling tales. But few places have gripped my soul like this prison. The air here is heavy, thick with the residue of untold suffering. It's as if the very walls seep despair, a chilling testament to the horrors that unfolded within these cells. From the moment you enter, you sense you're not alone. An unseen energy watches your every move, sending shivers down your spine. The building itself is imposing, a hulking structure of cold, unforgiving stone. Years of neglect have taken their toll, leaving it scarred and weathered. Broken windows stare out like vacant eyes, and the rusted bars seem to groan under the weight of unseen hands. It's a place where hope goes to die, where the weight of countless souls presses down, threatening to suffocate the living. As you walk the desolate corridors, footsteps echoing in the deathly silence, you can almost hear the echoes of the past. The clang of cell doors, the muffled sobs of the condemned, the harsh bark of the guards, a symphony of despair that lingers in the air. There's an oppressive energy here, a palpable sense of dread that seeps into your bones. This isn't just a building, it's a conduit to the other side, a place where the veil between our world and the next wears thin. And within these walls, we're about to confront the terrifying truth of what happens when the spirits of the dead refuse to find peace. This prison has borne witness to over a century of anguish. Built in 1890, it quickly gained a reputation for brutality and despair. The guards, notorious for their cruelty, ruled the cell blocks with an iron fist. Inmates endured unimaginable suffering within these walls, subjected to torture, starvation, and unspeakable horrors. One of the most notorious areas is solitary confinement, a place of utter darkness and isolation. Men were broken in both body and spirit here, their sanity slowly unraveling in the suffocating blackness. The stories whispered in hushed tones tell of prisoners driven mad by their confinement, their screams echoing through the empty halls long after their demise. And then there's death row. Just the name sends chills down your spine. It's a desolate corridor lined with cells where the condemned spent their final days. The air here is thick with a palpable sense of dread, the weight of countless executions pressing down like a physical burden. The energy within these walls is undeniable. It's a potent cocktail of rage, sorrow, and terror, fueled by the countless atrocities committed here. And as we'll soon discover, some things, some horrors, never truly die. They linger trapped within these walls, seeking solace or perhaps vengeance. Death row. Even the most hardened criminals fear this place. It's a stark reminder of their mortality, a place where time runs out. The energy here is oppressive, a heavy blanket of despair smothering any glimmer of hope. The spirits of those who breathed their last in these cells seem to linger, their anguish etched into the very fabric of the building. One chilling tale speaks of a man named John, wrongly convicted and sentenced to death. He spent his last days in agony, his pleas of innocence falling on deaf ears. Witnesses claim to hear his voice even now, a mournful whisper echoing through the empty cells, crying out for justice from beyond the grave. Another account tells of a brutal guard, a man who took sadistic pleasure in tormenting the inmates under his watch. He met a gruesome end, murdered by a group of prisoners who finally snapped under his tyranny. But his reign of terror didn't end with his death. Many claim to feel his presence on death row, a cold, malevolent energy that sends shivers down their spines. These are just a few of the countless stories that cling to this place like cobwebs. Each tale a chilling reminder of the suffering endured within these walls and the restless spirits who remain trapped in their eternal torment. Section 4. The Guard's Ordeal, a brush with the unexplained. The old guard, a man weathered by years of service within these grim walls, told me a story that still chills me to the bone. He'd been making his rounds one night, the only sound his heavy footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. As he passed by solitary confinement, he felt a sudden chill, a bone-deep cold that seemed to claw its way out from the very walls. He paused, his hand instinctively reaching for the baton at his hip. The air crackled with an unseen energy, and a low growl, guttural and inhuman, seemed to emanate from the depths of the isolation cells. Fear, primal and consuming, gripped him. He'd never experienced anything like it before, a darkness that felt alive, malevolent. As he stood there, frozen in terror, he saw it. A figure shrouded in shadow materialized in the dimly lit corridor. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, gliding towards him, its eyes burning with an eerie, otherworldly light. The guard stumbled back, his heart pounding against his ribs. He fled, the echoes of that inhuman growl chasing him into the night. He never forgot what he saw that night, the terror forever etched into his memory. It was a chilling reminder that within these walls, some things defy explanation. Some horrors linger long after death. Section 5, The Unseen Prisoner, a cell haunted by tragedy. Cell Block D, notorious for housing the most dangerous criminals, holds a story that chills even the most skeptical to the bone. It's a tale whispered among inmates and guards alike, a story of a presence that refuses to be ignored. The cell in question, number 13, stands empty, its door sealed with rusty chains and a heavy padlock. Legend has it that a man named Elias, a brutal murderer with a heart full of hate, once occupied this cell. He died within those cold steel walls, his life ending in a brutal fight with another inmate. But his spirit, consumed by rage and despair, refused to leave. Those who dare to venture near cell 13 speak of strange occurrences, disembodied whispers, the clatter of unseen chains, and a feeling of intense dread that washes over them like an icy wave. Some claim to have seen Elias's face peering out from the cell's barred window, his eyes burning with a malevolent fire. The guards avoid cell 13, their unease palpable. Even the toughest among them refuse to patrol that section of cell block D alone, their faces pale at the mere mention of Elias's name. It seems some sins follow us even in death. Some souls remain tethered to the place of their torment, their rage echoing through the ages. Section 6, Ghostly Apparitions, When Shadows Take Form. The stories of ghostly apparitions within these walls are as numerous as the cells themselves. Inmates whisper of shadowy figures lurking in their cells at night, their forms shifting and changing like smoke in the dim light. Some claim to see the faces of former inmates peering at them through the barred windows, their eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and rage. One particularly chilling tale speaks of a former warden, a cruel man known for his brutal punishments and utter lack of compassion. He died within the prison walls, struck down by a heart attack in his office. But his reign of terror didn't end with his death. Guards and inmates alike claim to see his ghost stalking the halls, his spectral form clad in the warden's uniform, his face contorted in a perpetual snarl. They say you can hear the jangle of his keys as he makes his rounds, the sound echoing through the empty corridors long after the living have retreated to their cells. These apparitions are a chilling reminder of the prison's dark past, the echoes of suffering and despair given form in the spectral realm. They are the shadows of those who lived and died within these walls, their tormented souls forever bound to the place of their torment.